just listening to the clock go ticking. I am waiting as the time goes by. I think of you with every breath.
My name is Stacy, and I am a liver transplant patient. I am also an employee of Save On Foods. To start from the beginning, I guess I had started feeling pretty crummy in about 1993, or 2003, pardon me, and I kept going back and forth to the doctor, and they said I was depressed, which I wasn't, and wanted to put me on antidepressants. And then I started ballooning out and really having a rough time at work. And I went to see a doctor that didn't know me at a clinic. And he took tests of me for all sorts of different diseases. And I said, well, there won't be any diseases because I've never done drugs and I'm not an alcoholic. And so he took these tests and I came back positive for hepatitis C. As it turns out, I had lost a baby some years before that, and I had to have about half the blood in my body replaced. So I had a lot of transfusions. It's kind of difficult for me to talk about this because it's very personal to me. I don't really like bringing up memories of my lost child, and that hurts. So anyways, I spent about the first 2 years pretty angry about the situation, and then I decided to do something about it. And I spoke to the management at Save On Foods and had expressed to them that I wanted to have a barbecue and do a spin and win and raise money for patients of transplant and hepatitis C and liver disease in general. And what we did was we raised enough money to feed 22 families not only Thanksgiving dinner, but Christmas dinner too. So they had fully packed boxes with turkey and all the fixins. They had a few little gifts for the kids and that kind of thing in there. Gift cards for Save On Foods. We gave them $50 each for single people, $100 for families. And that's how I started with this. And then I realized that that wasn't enough. And as a result of the blood transfusion that I received, I ended up receiving money from the government. So I was signing people up for the donor registry and found that the kidney patients had a house. They had 5. Heart House was there for heart and lung people. And the only people that didn't have a place were the liver patients. And liver patients, I know, are thought of as bad people in society, which is just not true. The 4th largest cause of death in Canada right now is liver disease, and that is going to be taking over the cancer spot within the next 2 to 5 years for second place. So even though other illnesses have been cured in the last 10-15 years, they've been coming up with more and more treatments for more and more diseases. And liver disease is the only disease that is still on the rise in Canada. I believe it in the Vancouver general area that it's about 1 in 8 people has some form of hepatitis. And that's just hepatitis. Then there's people who are born with liver disease. It's just a nightmare for all these people. And then to have to hide the fact that you're sick is just horrible. It's reprehensible. Initially, I felt ashamed because this had happened to me. And then after, I realized that what am I being ashamed for? I didn't do anything wrong. And this is a terrible illness. I have to have a transplant. I'm the longest waiting person on the transplant list right now. I've been on the transplant list for 4 years, on the active list. And it's not easy because I so badly want to go back to my job, and I so badly want to make the Happy Liver Society a stronger and better organization than it is. It is started from a hot dog sale in Save On Foods, and it has risen to the respect of the entire transplant team and the medical community in general. You cannot go to Vancouver General Hospital without people not knowing what Stacy House is. Stacy House is a house that I purchased when I could not even rent an apartment for liver transplant patients. People would not even rent me an apartment close to the hospital. I was willing to pay a 3-year lease up front, and they would not do it. They didn't want liver patients in there. So I made an on-the-spot decision to buy a condo at 13th and Oak, which is right across the street from VGH. If you're standing on the porch in Stacy House, you can wave up to the 4th floor and the transplant patients will wave back down at you. It's that close. And it has been full since its opening day. There has been so many people needing it, and every time that one person goes into Stacy House, I personally receive an extra 4 emails needing the housing. And that doesn't include how many people the social worker at VGH is getting that they need housing. So we're looking at 4 to 8 people a month that need housing for liver transplants. I wish I could help more than I am, and I plan on it in the future once I'm better to fight even harder.
I need to feel your heartbeat next to mine.
Hi, I'm Eric Ishida. I've been asked to talk a bit about myself. I'm a gastroenterologist with an interest in liver disease, so I'm basically a hepatologist. I'm currently the head of gastroenterology for the Vancouver General Hospital and also for the University of British Columbia. I was the medical director of the liver transplant program for about 10 years, ending at the end of this 2010. Or it might have been 2011, but I'm still very much part of the liver transplant program, and we all work together. In terms of my involvement with the liver transplant program, I've been involved with them since 1991. I kind of started when I was a medical resident and then a gastroenterology fellow, and then that was in the early 90s, and then it kind of continued from there. Back in those days, liver transplantation was kind of new, exotic, and to be honest with you, a bit scary. People were uncertain about whether it was a successful venture. Even in 1991, the Vancouver Sun suggested that perhaps it was unproven, and I think over the 21 years of the program, I think we've proven that we definitely are successful with good outcomes, and it's always difficult. You can't always guarantee success, but we do everything we can. The medications that we have at our disposal right now are far more sophisticated than what we started out with back in 1991. Our knowledge of liver disease and transplantation in general is like light years ahead of where it was in 1991. I think that we've created a program that British Columbians can be proud of. I think we've saved a lot of people, and I'm not just saying that to brag or to be arrogant, but I think that's a statement of fact and truth that we have saved a lot of people. And you know, it has been tough going. It's always tough going, but I think it's something that is vitally necessary and something that that I'm personally very happy and proud to be part of for the past 21 years. The Happy Liver Society fills a great role in the care of these patients. Now, let me tell you something about liver transplant patients, the recipients, and the liver transplant candidates. You know, these are patients who are truly in big trouble. You know, we don't have the luxury of dialysis. You know, you can live for many, many years on dialysis, but if you need a liver transplant, there is no dialysis. And if we say that you need an urgent liver transplant, if you don't get one, you're not going to be on this planet for very much longer. And therefore, the stakes are extremely high. There's also a tremendous disparity, tragic disparity, between the number of people in British Columbia and in Canada who need an organ and the availability of donor organs. Everybody who comes here, all the healthcare professionals, everybody's aware of this. And it is truly a desperate situation. And with these patients who come looking for a transplant, you know, their focus is staying alive. To be honest with you, that is the number one focus. How am I going to stay alive? And their families. Their families have emotionally supported them, are emotionally just as involved. And they don't think about, and why, you know, you can't really think about what happens after the transplant. You just have to think about, how am I going to stay alive until I get a transplant, and when am I going to get a transplant? You know, that is like the focus of your life. It is, I mean, it's trivial to compare this to hockey, but you know, to be honest with you, you have to get through round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs before you can think about the Stanley Cup final. You know, that is a trivial example. I'm not trivializing this issue, but that is the mentality of those players, is to get through round one, and the mentality of all people and their families who need a liver transplant is to get to that transplant. Okay, so the wonderful day happens. There is a gift from God. The donor families, in their worst possible moment, do a totally altruistic thing, and they go out there and they allow donor organs to be used from their loved ones, and they, in their worst moment, they save somebody else's life. You know, we have to appreciate that. But that magic moment happens, and everything goes well from there. Then what happens? Well, a lot of these people, they worked hard all their lives, but they're not wealthy people. Let's put it that way. Canada is a country where everybody is middle class, and Canadians are not wealthy people. Where are they going to go? Okay, if they live in Vancouver, they live in the Lower Mainland, that's not an issue. But don't forget, we are transplanting people from all over BC. They live far, far away. Their families are far, far away. They don't have much in terms of resources. How are they going to stay around the Vancouver General Hospital, where they need to be, for 3 months? That's when the second set of problems come up. And where are they going to get accommodation? You know, accommodation used to be relatively inexpensive here in the 1990s. Let me tell you, it isn't like that anymore. And that's where the Happy Liver Society really helps these people immensely. They provide reasonable, affordable accommodation so that nobody really has to sell their cars or go broke. And they provide the accommodation such that the patients can come to the emergency room of the Vancouver General Hospital with a transplant-related problem right away and come to clinic right away. And you know, in terms of helping these people after the transplant, you know, the Happy Liver Society is there for them. And there is no real government agency that can look after that for them. So I think the Happy Liver Society has done a wonderful job, and I am truly appreciative of their efforts, and I think that we should all support them.
You're all I see in every.
Hi, this is my wife Naomi McConnell. I'm Lyle McConnell, and we're from a little town outside of Kamloops called Savinaw. It's not much of a town, but it's a little town. And about 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And from then on, it sort of just ballooned in my liver. I ended up with encephalitis. And my doctor said my liver was gone. She said, you got 3 months to live, 3 to 6 months. And so she must go home. And so I came back about 7 months later, and I was a lot healthier, a lot stronger. And she said to me, she says, you're supposed to be dead. And I said, well, I didn't die. So she said, well, let's work on a transplant then for your liver. So we ended up down here. And then we were to find a place. And we heard about the place, this apartment right here. Stacy House. And we inquired about it, and for some odd reason we got it. And we got the operation right away, and we're on the mend right now. And everything seems to be going good. All my blood work is good. It's a struggle, but everything is close to here. It's nice. So walking distance to the hospital is just 2-minute walk. The stores are fairly close. The malls, you got to drive everywhere in the city, and driving the city is kind of hectic because we're home from a little town of maybe 300 people. So we don't have any street lights or anything. And parking is free. We're trying to make it though, and I hope we do, and I'm sure glad we got the chance to stay here. I think I'll leave you to Naomi then.
Like Lyle said, our journey started in July 2010. It progressed downhill very quickly. We were in the hospital 7 times with encephalitis. We were told that he was not going to make it, so it was one of those situations where you're just numb. And then his doctor said that he was up for a transplant, which you get hope, and you're just, you don't know how, you don't know if it's going to come, because they tell you, like, you've got a year wait. And when it did come on March 7th at 7:30 in the morning, we were both dumbstruck. It doesn't matter how prepared you are, you're not. And we came down here, and of course our GPS didn't work, and we were on our way to Horseshoe Bay, which is an absolutely beautiful drive. But we made it to the hospital, and Lyle got operated on at 9 o'clock that night. I got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the hospital from Polly, the social worker, telling us that Stacy House was available to us, which was absolute, it was a godsend, because she told me not to worry about it. That's something that we would deal with once Lyle was in the hospital, and I never did once worry about it. I got the keys the next afternoon. I stayed in here on Thursday night, and I couldn't sleep because of the noise, but that's okay. And I left for home the next day to prepare us for our 3-month stay. And we have been here. It's been like a 3-minute walk for me to go to the hospital. I was in for 5 weeks. I would go every day and I'd come home, and it was so nice to have a place to just recoup, you know, get my strength back, because I knew what I had to face the next day. It was just, with us being from a small town, driving in the city is not one of my better things, and I'd prefer not to drive. But this has just been an absolute godsend. We've had people actually come and visit us, and we hope to take on and become a bit of tourists now that Lyle is not being IV'd every day now, so he's free of that. And we're just on the up, and we're getting better, and we're looking forward to enjoying Vancouver, the weather, and eventually going home to a new life. Thank you.
I just wanna hold you. I just wanna.
Hi again. We're at beautiful Ambleside Park in North Vancouver. I would like to thank Save On Foods for their continued support of the Happy Liver Society, including the making of this short documentary. Save On has been the greatest support system for us, because there's a lot of stores, and they really believe in what we're doing. So that's just great. I'd like to thank the union, UFCW 1518. Thank you very much for all your support. I would like to thank our corporate sponsors, Roche Pharmaceuticals. Thank you. I would like to thank Gilead Sciences. Thank you. I would like to thank Astellas Pharmaceuticals for transplant patients. Mustn't forget those guys. And Vertex Pharmaceuticals, our newest sponsor. We would also, from the entire Happy Liver Society, like to thank Global Television for all their support over the years, Rock 101 for all their support over the years. I would like to thank the River Rock for having us. I would like to thank the staff at the River Rock, the band. I would love to thank the whole Happy Liver Society Board of Directors, my family, and my friends.